Meghan uses sick children for PR, and can we explain why the Princess of Wales previously tried to hide her cancer diagnosis? This is the main content in this video today. So reportedly, Meghan Markle stopped by to visit the Children's Hospital in LA for story time. And once again, she is abusing sick kids just for her own PR purposes. I mean, how can she rebuild her image and act like she's a loving mother when she's not even showing her own kids? She is trying so desperately to be like the Princess of Wales, but it's never going to work. Meghan Markle always comes out looking fake. Honestly, I'm sure any one of those parents could have done a much better job engaging the children than Meghan Markle, that used up old village bicycle. I mean, these children are sick and they're in the hospital, and she's making them shake her hand? What is wrong with her? And Meghan Markle, I mean, she'll do anything for PR. As long as there is an event she can go to and a photographer there, she's going to be there. And we might as well get used to it, I guess. And part of the reason, of course, is to push her brand. And it looks like her brand does not have Harry attached to it anymore. I mean, Harry may not stick around much longer, who knows. For the last few years, they have been shoving Meghan Markle down our throats, and Harry's just playing a supporting role. Honestly, it seems like nobody really cares and nobody really wanted to be there. Meghan cannot connect well to children, or adults either for that matter, and those children look a little too old for her story time, right? They were probably bored stiff. And is this not the kind of thing that she and Harry were too good to do when they were working members of the royal family? Is that not the reason they left? They didn't want to have to hang out with the hoi polloi? Remember, they only wanted to do the glitzy red carpet engagements. They wanted to go to the movie premieres. They wanted to attend the state dinners with dignitaries. They wanted to meet the high-profile visitors. They thought visiting hospitals and cutting ribbons, it's not for them. They're above all that. I mean, there's not even one child looking at Meghan in the eye in any of the photos. The kids just look awkward and uncomfortable. And they look like they're way too old to be sitting on a nursery chair listening to some insane goblin read out of picture books that are for preschoolers. Would it not have been better if she just stayed home and read to her own invisible children for her PR? So we are expected to believe that all of a sudden Meghan Markle has this connection with a hospital in LA and with a children's charity. Nobody's believing that. So phony. And why did they have to publicize it? I mean, there are plenty of people who volunteer in children's hospitals on a daily basis. And guess what? They don't get a lot of attention in the media for it. I mean, have you seen it? You've got to if you haven't yet. It looks like her shirt has a rip in the side, on her right side, right above her waist. And the shoes are hideous. I mean, her feet are already very ugly, and it only makes them look worse. Those are not the shoes that she should be wearing. And there's probably a whole pile of copies of that stupid bench book right next to the door. She's trying to guilt trip the parents into buying one for their kids. Honestly, though, to use sick children for publicity, she's so disingenuous. Do they even know who she is? Probably not. Do they even know why she's taking photos with them individually? Again, probably not. And that ripped seam in her dress in the next to the last picture, oh my God. I mean, who let her walk out like that? She always looks so disheveled, much like Harry. And she has no qualifications to be reading to young kids anyway. She shouldn't be allowed to get near them. Remember, that's what her own brother said, that Meghan should never be left alone with animals or children. I agree. I mean, who allowed this? I would be so upset if my kid had to sit through that. I mean, none of the kids or adults look happy to be there. Their tension in the air is palpable. So why? I just don't understand, though, why Meghan's flashing that rictus grin. What is she so happy about? And besides that, her sugars are going to say, if they aren't saying it already, that it's different. That Catherine does this kind of event all the time as a working royal, but she never receives any backlash. So why is Meghan facing all this criticism? Well, okay, let's be honest here. That's because Catherine is usually a patron, or she just is there to help with fundraising, or she's just there to make people feel happier, and she's able to do that. Children love Catherine. But no, children don't love Meghan. These unlucky children were forced to sit there and listen to her, and they didn't want to be there. And again, Meghan Markle is just using children as pawns to try to make herself look better. First, it was those poor children at the school in Harlem for whom she read out of that book The Bench and donated some rotten vegetables. And then what about the dead children at Uvalde with her camera crew? And now these poor kids stuck in a hospital. But what about her own children? Well, they're kept locked away in some type of dungeon in that Montecito McMansion. When is she going to realize that nobody likes her? When is she just going to stop and disappear forever? It is appalling to use sick children like that. If I had a child there, I would have said absolutely not. I'm not allowing that witch to use my kid. And I hope instead of taking photos that she made a big donation to that hospital, but you know she didn't. Meghan Markle was just trying to weasel her way in, take some photos, and appear to be a nice person, a humanitarian, but she's not. She is a superficial, vapid person, and she doesn't even care about her own father or her other side of the family. I mean, what really is wrong with her? Honestly, I'm tired of questioning it. I can't figure it out, so she just needs to go away. And I wouldn't be holding my breath to wait for the news of a big donation to the hospital or even a thank you to those sick kids for posing with her. And the photos, honestly, I think she might be facing a lawsuit for those. It is illegal to take photos of patients in a hospital. Who even let Meghan Markle and her camera crew into the pediatric wing? And Meghan believes that she can reinvent her image from the queen of nastiness, but no, it's never going to happen. Meghan has been trying her best to look like Catherine, the Princess of Wales, but that will never work for her because her true nature shows as much as she tries to hide it. She's just never going to get it. I mean, if you go to see the children, you don't bring a camera crew and don't publish photos of it. Meghan, you're a nobody. Now, I know she's got that Duchess title, but this is the job that she walked away from. Meghan, everybody already realizes what you're all about. You believe that because Princess Catherine is unwell, you can just put yourself into the spotlight and get all her popularity. But no, it's never going to happen. And why is she there? She insists that she's this big celebrity, but what is she talking about? Meghan Markle is not a part of the royal family. The royal family wants nothing to do with the grifters. Who and what exactly do they even represent, and why? Are they just too thick to understand they're not celebrities, and they're just viewed as a couple of con artists with no talent, no work ethic, drug abusers, essentially classless? It's time to just go away and leave us in peace. Alright, so shifting gears just a little bit, let's talk about Catherine. So recently, as you know, Catherine made an official announcement about her cancer diagnosis, but many people are wondering why she needed to hide. Well, okay, the fact is, Her Royal Highness Catherine, the Princess of Wales, didn't try to hide her diagnosis. I'm going to explain it in very simple terms, just in case there are any sugars listening. So number one, it was publicly announced that Catherine was going to be going to the hospital for major abdominal surgery. And we heard how long she was going to stay in the hospital, 2 weeks. She said that her post-op care would mean a lengthy period of recuperation. She had been informed that the surgical intervention didn't have anything to do with cancer. So we assume that's what her medical team told her. That's what she thought. But they would be doing more tests to be sure, because that's normal practice. Alright, number two, as with all major surgery, the consultant took tissue samples for biopsy. So basically, they have to be sure that there is not even a remote chance of cancer cells that hadn't been discovered in pre-op tests. Now, from personal experience, I understand that the results of these biopsies are not made available immediately. Even royalty has to wait. So when the results came through, Catherine was told that the operation had been successful, but the biopsies had shown that there were cancer cells present in her system. And many people, myself included, are assuming that Catherine and William found out about this news on the day that William abruptly canceled his attendance at King Constantine's memorial service. But of course, she would have been told that she needed further treatment. I mean, even if they only found one single cell, they can't ignore that. They would have had to put her on some type of therapy because they've got to treat it early. And I'm sure that Prince William and Princess Catherine were told that chemo was the best option. Chemo honestly has come a very long way since the early days, and there are a few different ways of administering it. Now, I don't care who you are or what you've been through, a cancer diagnosis is incredibly shocking and hard to deal with, especially if she had been told that it was improbable. Honestly, I'm sure it felt like she'd been kicked in the stomach. I mean, just think of everything that Catherine and William had to do. They had to let the king and queen know, they had to let the royal family know, they had to tell Catherine's parents and her siblings, and they had to tell their private secretaries that Catherine's absence was going to be longer than expected. And then, of course, they had to accept the actual diagnosis themselves and had to figure out how to move forward. They had to consider also how they were going to talk to their kids about it. And as if that were not enough, they had to deal with the media insisting that the public had a right to know exactly what was going on with Catherine, why she was going to be off work for such a long time. And there were so many conspiracy theories making the rounds on social media, just awful stuff. And this was followed by the media furor about that Mother's Day photo. I mean, God, what a difficult time for them. And they had to wait until they could inform their kids at a time of their choosing instead of making a public announcement right away. So I think it was sensible what they decided. They decided to wait until the kids would be home for the Easter holidays. And so there would be no chance of the kids hearing a really crazy version from their school friends. And then they had to find out that somebody, I'm sure a member of hospital staff, had tried to access Catherine's private medical records. I assume they were just hoping to sell it for some big money. I would like to think that none of the media would stoop so low as to buy it, but who knows? Honestly, folks, there's no honesty or integrity in journalism anymore. It's all about the clicks. And of course, right after we heard the news of Catherine's shocking cancer diagnosis, the media started speculating about what exactly she has, what kind of cancer it is, fueled by interviews with medical professionals who are not treating Catherine, who know nothing about her. They don't know anything about the type of surgery she had or what kind of cancer she has, because they're not part of the medical team that is treating her. But that's not stopping the royal reporters, the gossip columnists, and the so-called royal experts. The BBC, the independent television, Sky News, cable news network, and other outlets, and also the print media, well, they've had their medical experts talking about that there's no such thing as preventative chemo, that clearly she's got cancer, and she must have had it for some time because she has lost so much weight. Talking about which kind of cancer maybe she has, what kind of surgery she may have had, and how she may be responding to chemo. And then what about the pundits who have been going on and on about our right to know and the palace must come clean, manipulation of images, future of the monarchy? I mean, come on, give her a break. And now they're saying, oh yeah, we wish her well and we have to give her the time and space and privacy to recover. Well, why weren't they saying that earlier? Anybody with common sense has to understand that as the mother of 3 young kids, her first concern, her first priority is her children. The way the media acted was disgusting, and I do hope that Catherine recovers completely, and I hope that she will be cancer-free the rest of her life. So the normal way it goes is surgery, and then after that, there's a post-surgical pathology report. It's the examination of the tissues after the surgery, and it usually gives a more precise diagnosis. Catherine was not trying to hide or cover up anything, come on. It's typical for the actual stage and the spread of the cancer to be determined by post-surgical pathology, and of course, that's not immediately available, it takes time. She has more than enough on her plate right now. We need to leave her and her family alone. Health is also very private, and it should be private. There is a reason that medical confidentiality is of utmost importance. So first she has to accept this news for herself and with her husband, and then she has to prepare the kids, telling them that she's unwell. Kids usually get really scared by this news with their mother. They'll often think that somehow it's their fault, that they did something wrong, they weren't good enough, they stressed her out too much. Honestly, it's really just horrible to think about what she's been going through. And the kids still attended school, they were just trying to keep things as normal as possible. Now, in this early stage, I don't believe that it would really damage the kids being asked at school and being confronted with everything. The impression I have is that the media doesn't understand what happens in the family. And of course, the kids are the top priority, not the public. Anybody who doesn't understand that shows a real lack of common decency. And I hope that Catherine and the King both make a full recovery. But I want to know why so many people these days are prying into Catherine's private life. It is not necessary for her to share her medical information with the public. The media, if you ask me, is a lot more dangerous than cancer. The media can just be so manipulative, so agenda-driven, it's really scary. And I wish Catherine nothing but the best as she travels the path of millions of other people. I'm sure she's going to come out of this okay. But still, she needs her privacy, she needs rest, and she needs peace. Well, folks, that's some important news that I wanted to share with you. How do you feel about each topic covered in the newsletter? Leave a comment to let us know. We really do care about your thoughts. And don't forget to support us with a like, share, and subscribe to the channel so we have more motivation to make more interesting videos.